Good morning, everybody. I think we are going to get started here soon. Just wanted to welcome everybody here and on the recording later. Welcome to the week 6 recap, the final week of season 4. We finished up last night. We got to learn about some future stuff in the upcoming seasons last night, and we got to go over adding some features last night as well. I'm super interested. Alisher, I was diving into the zip file you left for everybody on the Slack. If you haven't got a chance, anybody that's listening, go check out the Slack if you want to see how to integrate FAL, Upscaler, and FAL AI into your Canva clone. And I'm going to be definitely doing that once I get the chance later. Um, but yeah, before we get started, I'm just going to be going over some opening notes here. Guys, be sure to definitely go check out everything that's happening on the Innovators Think Tank website. It is super cool. Everybody's bringing their ideas to impact. Make sure you have your profile uh, fully uh, figured out and configured. In order to connect with people, you're going to need to. Sorry, Sarah, I'm trying to get you up here. I know X is being glitchy right now, but you're going to need to go to your profile. There's going to be a little check box that says allow others to view your profile. Click that, save it, and that way your profile is going to be public to everybody. If you don't want to be public yet and you want to get it like all figured out and customized and looks, polished, that's okay. You can click that check mark once it's all done, and that way you can connect with people on the website. It's super cool, and then that way you can also build out your team, offer and ask people for help on your projects. It's super cool what Luke has been integrating onto the website. Sarah, we'll do a little mic check. We'll go around the circle. How are you doing,
Took
Sarah?
me a minute. I hope that you can hear me. I love X. I'll just say that. Good morning, Cash Money Kev. Good morning, Alisher, and to Nick and Ross in the background. Can you believe it? This is the last episode of season 4. So I'm very, very excited. We'll be starting season 5 next week. No break. So we'll go over that a little bit later, but hopefully you can hear me well. And we're going to hit the ground running. It's going to be an awesome day. I'm excited. Some people have built some incredible stuff, and to watch it all play out is it's not just a tremendous privilege. It is just so freaking fun. If you've noticed in some of the spaces, especially in the digital overlay, if you're crypto people or not, but it's the folks that are taking AI and running with it, that they're allowing it to augment their creativity, and they are showing some serious wins. And it is just so much fun. It's fun. It's fun to watch people win. It's fun to watch ecosystems grow. And we're here. We're right at the crossroads of really an evolutionary, synergy that I don't even think we fully understand. But I will tell you that seeing people's lives change, hearing Starboss's story last night, especially, um, her out in the wild. We all think of each other as just PFPs, but we're real people. And when you meet someone in our pocket family in real life, face to face, and then you hear words come out of their mouth like, in general conversation, yeah, I was poking around online and man, this site was so bad. I just wanted to go in and fix it, and I wanted to use my cPanel. I was just flying high. I was like, I wish Nick, Alisher, and Ross could hear this. I wish that Josh, Cash Money, Kev, and Mattia and Luke could hear this, because they facilitated an awesome experience, but also just someone who had all of these barriers to entry lowered, not, out of goodwill, but out of hard work and determination. And it's just freaking awesome. So, yes, we're ready to start, aren't we? Cash Money Kev, you're regretting giving me the mic. Alisher,
Never,
let's
never,
test you,
never,
hun.
Sarah. You're amazing. I love everything that you said, and I wish I was a fly on the wall and I could have heard that conversation. Um, Also, I totally forgot to add in a couple extra opening notes. Don't forget to go check out uh, the Makerspace, Humans Make Cool Things with Sarah, and the AI Builder Space tomorrow. Alisher and Sharon are cooking up some awesome stuff. Everybody is going to be able to use uh, some application that they are going to be coding with you tomorrow. By the sound of it, I know Alisher's been hyping me up. I know he might be giving a little precursor on it later. I'm super excited because they're always building some cool applications. Last time they built a transcription application, and that is super useful right now. There's not too many competitors out there if you guys are into building some SaaSes, uh, especially ones that can transcribe correctly X spaces. Anyways, besides that, Alisher, how are you doing, my friend? Hopefully the morning's treating you well and everything's sunny and great on the East Coast.
It is actually really sunny today, and good morning, guys. Today we'll try to wrap it up. We'll go over some of the last things you'll need to continue this project on your own, and we'll see you guys next week when we start season 5. I think season 5 we're doing a PHP platform in your cPanels, so you'll get to utilize your cPanel a little bit more and learn about PHP, which WordPress actually runs on. So if you know PHP, you can just pretty easily develop a WordPress plugin. So we'll see that step from there. I think Dave said that he'll open source a plugin once we get started as well. So that'll be fun. I was actually meaning to build a WordPress plugin. That might be the next thing me and Sharon do in the next few weeks. But while we're here, I'll say today, feel free to interrupt me, ask questions, because this is the last week we're going to spend on this project. And I just want to get all the questions out of the way before we move on and we have a whole other different set of questions about PHP. Okay, so I would say that there's more people than usual today. So let's see how many of you actually build this. And it's running in your Vercel. You made some changes. You made some design changes. You can just give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So a thumbs up if you did build it. If you've been playing around with it, you don't have to use it in production. I would say creating an image editor is niche, but there is a market for it. Especially considering that if we look at actual Canva's AI kind of sucks. They're using, I think nowadays they're using Leonardo. They used to use DALL-E, and it's still, there's not a lot of choice. You can just generate using that one proprietary model that they have. So an edge up that you have is you can integrate multiple models, which is what I think you guys did last night. We can take a look at that too, and we'll integrate some models as well. But I think we'll integrate some file models maybe. So we'll take a look at it from a different perspective if you were to run this on file. And I think you guys used Replicate last night, which is already integrated in this app. And it'll also give you a little bit of a review of how you can actually work with this project and how you can start expanding on this project. Let's see, we'll do some review. I remember in the beginning you guys did some theoretical stuff of where certain things are. So let's do a little review. So typically your Next.js project will look something like this. You're going to have all these folders, and this is what's called the root folder, where everything is located, where you can see all of these get attributes, log files, JSON files. Right, so this is the root folder, ROOT. That's a good vocab term. Now, in the root folder, you'll find a few different folders that are typically pretty self-sustaining and managed by the commands. For example, let's see where this is. Package.json. So package.json typically gets code inserted into it whenever you install anything, right? So since we're using bun, and I know you guys spoke a little bit about bun, pnpm, npm last night. That's how you install different things, install different packages. Node typically runs on packages. So as you install different things, you guys, as you expand, you might install something that edits images. You might install something that creates like a graph. Well, in that case, you'll end up running bun install whatever the package is, right? Let's say you wanted to integrate Firebase. You would do bun install Firebase or whatever the command is. If you want to integrate file, you need to do bun install file AI. And all of those will automatically be added in this package.json file. So that's one of the important files here when it comes to just starting to expand, starting to add new things to your project. And then once you actually install things, they'll all go into the node modules folder. As you can see, some of these are actually grayed out. So this file, the env file, node modules, and this .next folder, they're all grayed out because they're not being connected to your GitHub. And that's managed by this gitignore file. So if you ever don't want a folder go into your GitHub, you can just add it in here or any of the files. Because sometimes you'll put in files here that aren't necessarily part of the project, but are related to the project, and you don't want to commit that. Or your env file. You don't want to commit that either and expose your variables, so it's going to be here ignored by the GitHub. Just some, I guess, tips on how you can get started and change some of these things. Now, all the images that you guys see on the website are going to be in this public folder, right? So if you want to change your background, if you want to change your logo, you're going to find this in this public folder. If you want to add some graphics, you can add them in this public folder and then reference them in your code. So this public folder is pretty much for assets that don't need to be so-called compiled. This is pretty much where you're going to be putting any images that you're using as graphics on your website. Now, we have this SRC folder, and this SRC folder is going to contain 99% of your code. So this is where you're going to find your front end and your back end. Since we're using Next.js, either 14 or 15, this uses what are called routes. And it's just a way to separate things a little bit cleaner. So for example, let's actually go to this website. So let me go to my Vercel. I'm going to open this up where I have it already launched. And we're going to take a look at what these routes do. So as you guys can see, we have several folders here in SRC. We have the app, which the app is going to create the layout and the structure. Then we have components. So components are individual parts of what's inside of the app that you can use on different pages and reuse. You guys will find here UI, these are all the ShatCN components. ShatCN is pretty cool. It's a component library. You just run an install command, and it gives you a whole component you can use everywhere. And then there's some custom components here as well, like modals, providers. You have some other backend related files here, like DB, features, hooks, lib. And then the rest of it is things that connect these two together. So things like auth that need to connect the front end and the back end together, middleware, things that need to kind of like encrypt your front end and back end whenever you send different requests between them, whenever you do different operations. And this middleware file is pretty simple. If you have a lot more things in this app like Firebase, so it'll get a lot more complex. But for now, it's just encrypting authentication, just encrypting your login. Okay, so let's take a look at these routes. Let's see if my website loaded here. Okay, check this out, guys. So here we have our URL, right? I have a long URL. It's probably not a good URL to use, but it ends in /signin. And essentially what these routes do is they create kind of like container for some of these pages, right? So right now we're on the sign-in page, and everything sign-in, sign-up related, they'll probably be related to auth. Now we can make that connection. And when we go to auth, surely enough, here's the sign-in. Inside of sign-in, there's going to be a page. And here's the sign-up. Inside of sign-up, there's going to be a different page. So these are two different pages, right? Whenever you go between them. Then we have dashboard. So whenever I do sign in, I think I have to go to my main project for that. Right. So whenever we do sign in, maybe GitHub, yeah, you're gonna notice this dashboard here, right? So as soon as you sign in, it goes from auth to dashboard. You don't really see it reflected, which is why it looks pretty. This is some of the new features of Next.js, where these routes aren't really reflected. But if we go to dashboard, here we of course have a dashboard page, which is what this page most likely is. And surely enough, when we go to that page, you see a few things here that you can read that are kind of in plain English. This is what's good about Next and Node. A lot of it is in plain English. So, for example, here we have a banner, right? Of course, here's the banner. Then we have template section. I don't have templates, which is probably I don't see the template section. And then we have project section. And of course, here are my projects. Now, these are what's called components, right? And as we figured out before, all the components that are on the pages, they're most likely going to be, let's see, either in components or somewhere here not named page. So if we look in components, components doesn't really have anything. Components just has like reusable components that you can put on any page. But it looks like this dashboard folder is keeping everything nice and organized, and it has all these things like banner, right? So here's our banner where we can change what it says here. Here's all the text that it says. Visualize your ideas. Yep, seems to match. So that's how you can change some of this text. Then we have things like project section. Here it is in plain English, project section, and all the code related to that section. And then here's the template section. And then you'll find that inside of pages, there's components nested, but also inside of components, if we go to templates, there are other components as well, right? For example, this template card. Now, if let's say you wanted to work with this repo, well, what I like to do, the easiest thing for me to do, is to take this whole SRC folder, right? This SRC folder is going to contain majority of our code. And I'm going to go to AI Tutor. Right now, I'm in Beam. You can go to any AI assistant. And to really get started with this project, the easiest way, I'm going to start a new conversation. Oh, preview, no, thank you. Give me Claude. And I recommend Claude 3.5. It's pretty quick and it's pretty good at coding. Now you have a few things you can add here. You can add your whole project in here. If you use that repo that Ross shared with us, where you turn a GitHub repository into a text file of code. But what you could also do, and I was testing this earlier, is you can attach the entire folder here. So let's try this out. Now you're going to start from Visual Studio Code. And if you want to access any of these folders outside of VS Code, what you can do is you can right click and you can do Reveal in File Explorer, or if you're on Mac, Reveal in Finder. And so here's my SRC folder, and I should just be able to bring it in here and drop it. And it's going to take all those files. This is how I like to code. I like to drop in all the files. This is an app that's small enough, light enough for us to be able to have a conversation with. Sometimes you might have an app like Pixio. Pixio is about 1,000,000 context window that's needed to chat with Pixio in full. So it's a little bit harder. So I'll have to use Gemini. It's also a little bit more expensive. Each conversation with Pixio is like $30, $40 if you want to chat with full Pixio. Okay, so I have my app here. This, as you can see, there's a little context bar over here so you can read about it. So it looks like this app is... Okay, so this app is about 50, 60,000 tokens that are necessary to chat with. Okay, not too bad, considering a lot of the things that this app does. And then from here, you can start integrating whatever you want. So let's see. I am using with file upscale. So let's think about this. So instead of using stable diffusion, maybe I want to use fal, right? So what I'm going to say, as I want to integrate more features, I'm going to say you want to say where it is, right? So when creating a project, and using AI from the sidebar to generate images, you kind of give it the setting of where it's located. I'm going to say right now it's using, and double check what it's using. Remember, everything AI related from Replicate is going to be located in this features AI. Or also, I think, is it hooks or lib AI? No? Let's keep looking. Projects, descriptions. There's an AI.ts file somewhere that we're aware of. Oh, it's in routes. That's cool. There's generate image, and right now it uses Flux. Right now it's using Replicate and Flux Dev. I'm going to say I want to instead use Flux Schnell on file. Now, if I'm not too sure if the AI is aware of fal, well, a lot of these API providers like Replicate and fal make it pretty easy for you to read the docs, right? So their docs are available right here under API. And all I really have to do is copy this whole thing and give it to the AI, and they'll figure it out. I'm going to say here are file docs. Here are file docs for this model. Okay, and that's another thing is the folder we didn't really talk about is this API folder. And this API folder is typically going to contain what's called your backend, right? Your front end is really just how the website looks, what each button does, the animations, and then your backend is all those functions. Like whenever you log in, the function to check passwords, to cross-reference things, that's all going to be located in the backend. The function to generate, right? It's going to be located in the backend as well. What's going to be located in the front end is that button that you click generate. And you're going to see the more you code, the more you start to see it. If you were to go and change that generate button, you're going to see that that generate button says, whenever you click generate, call this part of the backend. Now, route, it's just, I think they're trying to encrypt it a little bit more, make it a little bit safer. So route is just really a term for some of these functions. Typically, you would call like a specific file. Now, you use different components and export and import them. You don't even call a file; you call a function. That's one of the things. That's really what's called function calling when it comes to Vercel. In case you didn't know, Next.js is owned by Vercel. Okay,
And
that's
Alistair,
pretty much
real
what's
quick,
up.
I had a quick question. Kind of it goes along with the security and stuff with the routing. Is that kind of like what the proxy does too, in a way? Because I know the proxies are kind of meant for a security reason, but
Yeah. So
and I
for
know you need it
file,
for some stuff.
yeah. So for file specifically, you're absolutely right. It is for security. But there's a few things, right? So something like file and replicate, they're very popular. A lot of developers use them. So they will have a package, right? As you can see, it imports this replicate package, and you can find that in Node modules if you really want to take a look at it. And that provides extra security as well, because now they're like hiding your credentials in a package. As you can see, this file proxy, it doesn't have much. It literally just says accept these get and post requests. That's about it. Everything else happens in this package. But typically, yeah, you create a route, and what ends up happening is, if let's say you don't want to expose certain things like certain links to storage, certain functions, certain calls, because whenever you make a call to a database, you're making a call by having a database structure, right? So if you don't want to expose that, you would use a route, and it would hide it. And what it would do is, whenever it compiles, it would start giving you back like encrypted content in the inspect. So whenever you go to like inspect element, a lot of these browsers have inspect element. What a route does, instead of in plain English telling you what's going on, it's going to start to encrypt some stuff. Right? So some of these things are in plain English. They don't need to be encrypted, but others are encrypted. So if I go to some like integrations, oh, actually, integration is not a good one. So a lot of these things that you see here, this is the encrypted backend coming in, like JWE, some of these JSON files that get compiled. So that's what Rouse does. It kind of encrypts it in this way, where it's hard for attackers to reverse engineer your calls to the database. It's a really good and safe method. So whenever you make a call, especially when you're logging in, it's so easy to intercept your information whenever you're logging in. And so this makes it a little bit safer. Also, if you want to hide some proprietary information of what kind of model you're calling, also makes it do that. And you'll see some things here. These are, all related to the database. Images, projects, subscriptions, users. These are all kind of database routes. So whenever it's a route, that's really the more important thing that needs to be protected is the database stuff, user data. And you, of course, have an extra layer of protection there with Stripe, where that will protect the payment information. Okay, well, let's see what the AI told us. We're trying to integrate a feature. What did AI tell us? It accepted all these files. It knows where these files are. Oh, I might need to rerun this. But the way you guys can read this, and this is not formatted too well. I think it refreshed or something happened there. Let's rerun it. But AI is going to tell you exactly where to make a file, exactly what changes to make. And whenever you're unsure, you can just say, here's the whole file. Give me the entire updated file back. Oh, and this is another thing file allows you to do is instead of the reason their package is good, they don't even use the backend. That's what that route is really for. File pretty much does everything client side with a package, handling majority of the backend. As you can see here, it's actually removing things. And this is another thing you guys spoke about last night is these comments, right? So in VS Code, they're typically green. And this is the code that doesn't get compiled. It doesn't get read by the actual scripting and whatnot. Instead, these are comments for you as a developer to read and understand the code. So if we go and let's take a look at some of these other things, it doesn't look like there's too many comments. But for example, here's a comment, inspired by React Hot Toast library, whatever that means. But generally, a piece of code, unless you're working in like a collaborative environment, is not going to have a lot of comments, right? This was, I think, this code from with Antonio, so he probably developed this within a few days. Didn't really leave a lot of comments. If you have a few developers working on it, then you definitely want to leave comments, or just for yourself to remember. Let's see. Any questions so far, guys?
I see Starboss has a hand up, but real quick, I'm gonna step ahead. Starboss, sorry, I kind of have a follow up with the proxy thing.
I had a quick one.
Actually, you know what? Ladies first. Sorry, Starboss. I was getting ahead of myself. You go first, Starboss.
Starboss, hun, can you hear Cash Money?
Maybe.
I don't know if she can. I don't think she can. And I think that she's just kind of listening, and maybe I will see if I can get her on the back channel because I don't think she can hear us.
Yeah,
There
looks
she
like
goes.
she
She's
got
gonna take a lap.
disconnected.
Yep, that when she mentioned it, because she doesn't jump in like that, I was like, nah, she can't hear Cash Money. So we'll give her a second. Cash Money, did you want to go ahead and ask your question, and then I'll find Starboss? I'll go hunting and gathering. All right,
it'll be
go ahead.
quick. I guarantee Alisher will have a quick answer from you about that. Alisher, how do you know? Let's say I want to incorporate like another like file AI, tool into my application in the future. How will I know if I need the proxy setup? Like, because I didn't see it for file in the beginning in the GitHub, unless I'm just blind. I could have just missed it completely. And I'm guessing it probably is in the GitHub.
Yeah, so it wasn't there in the beginning. It's in a zip I shared, but the way you know is it's in file docs, right? File is one of those rare things where you need a proxy. Replicate doesn't need a proxy. There's a lot of these that don't need a proxy, but basically you can go to file, and if you're just starting, just go to their docs, and they have docs for a few languages. Yeah, they have docs for JavaScript and Python. And I think all you really got to do is just give it the docs.
Okay.
So you can give it these docs. There's also JavaScript, TypeScript, which is what you're using. And let's see, maybe nowadays you don't even need a proxy.
Yeah, I think
maybe they figured out how to do it differently.
Yeah, it seems like it's for models that are kind of open, like no restrictions. I mean, and if you want to have restrictions, like not safe for work boundaries set up, just in case you have like students, let's say, using your applications, it seems like that's when you use the proxy. But Starboss, I see your backup. Hopefully the X glitches are done and over with. Sorry about everything and stepping on your toes. Feel free to ask Alex your question.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I was talking over and hopefully everyone can hear me. Thanks for letting me up. I'm probably going to ask some pretty basic remedial questions, but I was curious about like when you get a repo or you bring something in to bring a feature in to add to the language. And if you run it through AI, will the AI get rid of whatever you don't need because it's seeing what you're building? Will it like automatically make it green? Will it decommission it before you bring it in? Am I not, or am I just not getting it? And I was just wondering if the double brackets just mean it's nested in like a parentheses. So just some basic things. And if there's like place a
Um,
place where I
yeah.
can
So
go and
what I would
yeah,
say,
learn the language.
what I would say for this, um, let's answer the first part, right? The AI, it, as you can see, let's take a look at the live stream, for example. This is a good example. If I was to take this file is incomplete. This is what you got to be careful about. That's actually a really good question because a lot of times when you code with AI, the AI is going to try and save some context, right? So instead of rewriting the same code for you, it's going to rewrite the part of the code that's new and different from the original that you gave it. And so you're going to find comments here. By the way, gray corresponds to the green comments in Visual Studio Code. So you're going to find comments here like other imports, right? And if I go to this file, so this file is called AI sidebar. Let's go to that file. Let's take a look at it. We'll take a look at them side by side. It's good practice. I'm going to look for AI sidebar. There it is, surely enough. And as you can see, even though it's only giving you this one thing here, it says other imports, meaning that you should still have all of these here. So you kind of got to really still read through the code. Now, if you don't want to read through the code, here's a good trick, right? So, because if I was to take this whole thing and paste it in here, it's going to be so incomplete. We're going to go from 180 lines of code to 28 lines of code, right? So you just gotta make sure you read some of these comments, like say other code, meaning that the rest of the code is unchanged, other imports, the rest of the component. So to avoid this, what you can do is you can take this whole component, right? So it says it's AI sidebar, and you can tell AI, here is my code for AI sidebar. Give me the full updated code, even if it is unchanged. That's a good practice to do if you just want this whole component and you don't really know where to add these things, because that happens a lot to me as well, right? The AI isn't very good at telling you where to add these things. It's skipping a lot of things over. And so now it's going to take this page. We're going to remind it of what the page looks like right now. And it's going to rewrite the whole page for you. And you're going to notice it's going to have, it might have comments where it made changes, it might not. But as you can see, it's rewriting it all perfectly in the same style as it was before, except with the new changes. Okay, now what was your next question? Because that was a really good question, and important to understand that if you're getting this code here that's being kind of abridged, so to say, you can give it the whole page and it'll rewrite it for you with all the necessary changes, and then you don't have to sit there and scratch your head trying to figure out where to put this.
Okay, so that kind of answered like my second question. And then like my last piece is on the when we were in the SRC folder, and I think isn't the auth well, like right there, the SRC folder and then the auth. And then when you go down into the code, there's like double brackets. Does that mean like nesting? And like, is there somewhere where I can just kind of look at like what each kind of set of symbols means just to kind of start to learn?
Yeah. So about the double brackets. So this double brackets, it more means that it's kind of like dynamic, and it's not. It's a route, so to say, and a route really just means like a backend call. These brackets make it kind of dynamic and secure, typically. Now, where can you look at this? Okay, so there's a lot of quirks to Next.js to React, because Next is based on React. So what you can do is you can ask the AI about it. It knows about Next and React, or you could always go to Next.js docs, for example. And you should be able to read through majority of the things here. Also, as you can see here, there's a few things. Using app router. We are using app router. Everything's inside of the app folder, right? If everything was inside of the page folder, you would be using pages router. But yeah, this is a good thing to read through, but there's so many things here, and I would say your best bet, ask the AI, because it has context on Next.js, although not the very latest version, but the version that will still, make sense to you. Because the latest version, 3 months, there could have been changes, but for the most part, they'll still support the older framework still. So you can still keep developing. Oh, and Cash Money, a follow-up on the proxy. So check this out. Again, if you guys are integrating any new feature, good practice is go to those pages, go to that features docs, right? If I wanted to integrate OpenAI, Open Router. So Open Router, for example, I can go to Open Router, and they have docs, right? So I can give the AI all of these docs and then ask it to make a feature for me. And for file, again, it goes back to the docs, because if we look at the docs and we're using Next.js, right? So if I go to integrations Next.js, they have a package. And as you can see here, this is where it tells you to set up the proxy. So if you were talking to the AI, you can copy this whole thing, and in your conversation with the project, you could say, integrate this file proxy, and then it'll give you a step-by-step of where and what to create. And let's see why they're using proxy. Here you go. The proxy will protect your API key and prevent it from being exposed. Okay, that's good. And again, if you're using Pages, here's Pages, here's an app router. So a lot of these docs will be very similar in terms of what they give you. And the same with OpenAI. OpenAI has great docs. So if I was to go to, I think it's platform.openai, their docs are very extensive. If you want to implement the latest features, right here, for example, real-time API, they immediately have the docs on it. They tell you exactly how to implement it, how to make a call, how to make it work. And as you're talking to the AI, you can start asking it questions like, what is a WebSocket, right? How does this real-time work? And build from there. I'm thinking another thing is, be very careful when you guys actually push this to GitHub, right? Make sure your repository is private, because if this is something where you're still pushing the env file, you don't want to make it public and expose your code and your variables to the world. Also, this is a private piece of code. This is not open source code. So this is one of those things that you don't want to just give away, right? Mostly because the creator specifically states not to redistribute it publicly. Okay, what else? Oh, another great thing you could take a look at, another fun thing. This project uses what's called ShatCN. Do you guys remember what ShatCN is? So ShatCN is a component library, right? Meaning you don't have to code these from scratch. Instead, if you wanted to have any of these, you can go to ShatCN. It's already integrated with your app, and you can ask the AI to use some of these components, right? If you were, let's say, building like a dropdown, for example, you guys were building a dropdown last night. Here's a dropdown menu from TSIxITT. So if whenever the AI doesn't really understand what you're talking about, you can give it the code, and then it'll tell you exactly how to integrate this. And you can also check it out, right? Here's what this code actually does. Just creates this big dropdown. And the TSIxITT is very extensive. It's always updated. And it looks like it's even used by Chick-fil-A. That's cool. We have a lot of other things here as well. For example, your login screen, right? So if I go to something like card, your login screen is a card. This looks like almost like your login window. Or now if you want to do the code sign-in with OTP, which is one of the safer ways to log into something, they have a component just for that. They have a lot of components here that you can play around with. I think last week we used a toast component, right? This little message that pops up. If you remember in Canva, whenever you go to download in Canva, it was actually just in Canva right before we started making some designs. It has a toast as well, right? Whenever you download in Canva, a toast pops up saying that your download is processing or converting or whatever it is. So we added that toast as well in our code. And again, all I did was just take this whole page, just make it code and go and copy this whole page. But what's good about TSIxITT versus other component libraries is the AI actually knows it, right? So whenever you use artifacts, so if you're ever in multi-bot building a page and using artifacts, you can enable TSIxITT. So the AI is fully aware. That's what V0 by Vercel uses as well. Okay, guys, any questions? This is your last chance to ask any, I would say, Canva clone related questions, whether it's Next.js, understanding something, where to go from here. Oh, another cool thing you guys can look at. Is it video editing or image editing? Oh, right. There's all sorts of APIs. I think Magnific has an API nowadays. Pretty sure I misspelled that. Magnific upscaler. So maybe you want to integrate that. Although I don't see anywhere on their page where it says API. You can integrate DALL-E, right? DALL-E is very popular. It's actually pretty decent nowadays. If you want stability, Stable Diffusion, you could go to Stability AI and integrate their Stable Diffusion API. It's all very similar in how you integrate an API. What ends up being different is the front end, right? Is how you make it look. Majority of the backend is going to be the same. You make a call, here's the parameters for that call. Because at the end of the day, even though we call it backend, there's actually a further backend that's owned by one of these companies that you're making an API call to, right? So again, if we go back to file or replicate, the true backend would be whatever they built to host these models and call them. The backend you're building is just almost like an adapter, right? Whenever you have like a USB-C cable and you need to connect it to one of those older iPhones, you need an adapter. So that's what you're building. But yeah, guys, I think this is it. I just wanted to give you guys some information on how to keep going with this and how to understand this a little bit more. And you can come back to this recording too. I'm going to make sure these go up by the end of the week and they're properly formatted.
Awesome, Alistair. Love all the work you guys did during season 4, man. I think this has tied a nice ribbon on it, and we've set these people up for success. And I mean, honestly, guys, I know it's going to take a little bit while to finish up your Canva clones, and and polish them off into not being clones anymore, especially if you're going to be publishing them for sale. Please share. Continue to come back, even and if you're not in season 5, just post here in the ITT community or at TSI and Alisher and me, and share any updates, even if it's just like simple UI updates or whatever it is. We want to know. Sarah, did you have any closing notes or anything like that? Final notes for the season?
I was thinking, one, there are a couple really important things. Go back to last Thursday's recording and listen to Dave Muir talk about counting your pennies, right? We also had a discussion about that last night in terms of, making sure we know where the assets are going, especially now, because there are lots of little moving parts. And now with Stripe being integrated and everything else, you do want to pay attention to these things. And normally speaking, if you're new to this kind of ecosystem and this kind of product, whether it's a business or service, whatever, these might not be on your radar to pay attention to. And so if you can go back to the recordings, especially from last night, I'd say the last 45 minutes of last night's recording, and smack dab in the middle of last Thursday's recording. I highly recommend it. I actually have gone back and listened to it again because, this is not my wheelhouse necessarily, but these are skills and tools that I have to learn specifically because of other projects and people that I want to help out. I want to make sure I understand these things. And for those that may not have been here last night, Stripe did make a significant purchase in the dark arts of pirate money, right? So people that are in crypto, and that is a big deal. It's a big flipping deal. And so when you are paying attention to this kind of evolution, because with AI, that proof of human has to be a part of the equation. Making sure that you connect with people that are not scammers, right? You want to make sure that you're coming into class, you're learning how to do your own research, and also develop your own revenues, et cetera, like we had mentioned before. But being safe about that, because you don't want to get red carded. We did talk about that a lot last night. If you get red carded, you lose your Stripe account. That's pure misery, because you should have a backup always, because your business relies on this stuff. But the methods that they are using to identify scammers, sometimes we get caught up in that net, and you have to be careful. So I just want to put those out there. They're not necessarily closing notes, but they're kind of like on my sticky notes, and we'll revisit because they're really, really important for our family to pay attention to. Ross did mention last night that we are going to be starting season 5, right? I can't even wrap my noodle around the fact that it's like over 2/3 of a year that we have spent Wednesday nights together and Thursday mornings, bettering ourselves in general, learning new skills, maybe honing existing skills, maybe upskilling some of the ones that we had with new tools, because the environment is constantly changing. But I'm just so wickedly proud of the folks that are showing up, people who had zero knowledge, who are now proficient. There is something very powerful about that. If you've ever had children and you see the magic moment where they're no longer being read to, they learn to read in order to read to learn, right? There's that natural progression. And once they get that ability to read, they're off to the races, and they learn whatever it is they want to learn. Once the folks in this room have that switched in their brain, that they can hack their own education, that education and learning doesn't live in a brick and mortar school, that accreditations from fine institutions don't necessarily equate to having capabilities and core competencies in certain skill sets. And the folks here taking note of their progress. So whether you're taking the classes in Mighty Networks, which is something we did not mention yet to this morning, but now that we're closing this session, you're going to want to make sure you're in Mighty Networks. Mighty Networks is kind of outside of the TSI suite of tools. They have My AI Tutor and Pixio, but Mighty Networks is kind of like a gateway drug for all of us that have taken classes. We're in an alumni group and continuing education group. So you're going to find interesting classes, all of the links and the things that Ross and Alisher and Nick have shared with us in a safe place, so they're not out in the wild. And then to bookmark that, and that's a good skill to have, because especially if you're going to integrate blockchain technology, you don't want to be clicking on abstract links. You don't want to be clicking on the first result for a Google, search, because it's probably a scam. You don't want to be connecting to things that could compromise not just your computer, your system, your business, but also your customers. So, this is a layer of accountability that we're all kind of learning how to sit in and build. So, hopefully, you are all there next semester or next season. um, your digital backpack is going to be so cool. I'm just going to say it's going to be so cool. The relationships that TSI has made with DigitalOcean partners, the continuation of the accreditations with Cisco in the back channel, that has been extended. So if you're taking the classes in Mighty Network and kind of filtering your way through it, that's a solid business course, folks. I mean, you would have paid, thousands of dollars in credits at school to get that kind of information. And not only that, after you're done, you get a fancy certificate and a certification from Cisco that they're going to honor. So it's the equivalent of having a diploma in some places. And it's instantly monetizable to people who are looking for your skill sets. And once again, last, I guess, house cleaning type thing, make sure that your GitHubs are all nice and pretty, because remember, that's your transcript. When you're forking things and you're out in the wild and you're building things in public, this is one of the things. It's not that you've made mistakes or that things don't work. It shows the evolution of your skill set. And it's far more informative to people who would want to partner with you or hire you, right? So, when we tell you collaboration is the next currency, it's very true. The folks that interact with your forks, with the things that you're building a social reputation that is so, so valuable. And so I want to encourage folks to continue to do that. Get rid of dead links. If your website needs to be zhuzhed a little, do it. Put in the time, put in the effort, and just know, I know this is a lonely journey for a lot of you. A lot of you are surrounded by people that just don't get it. They don't understand your passion. They don't understand your business. They don't understand why you're up all night not playing video games and you're sitting there, actually racking your brain about parentheses or where a hidden figure is in the code, asking your AI to help you. They have no idea. But I will tell you, you're working now harder so that you can live a life that no one else can have. The average consumer, the average person does not want to put in the work. We're just lazy. I mean, humans can be just incredibly lazy, but it's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just that you're wired different, folks. Each one of you, you're wired differently. You're hacking your own education. You're, envisioning a problem and a solution. So, pat yourselves on the back. This is a really, really cool time for all of you. And I'm insanely proud. I'm insanely proud just to watch. When you surround yourself with doers and people who are high achievers, high achiever does not mean that you haven't failed. It means that you've continued to achieve. And when you're building in public and people are seeing it, there's a synergy, there's a contagious nature of builders in digital maker spaces and real maker spaces out in the real world too. Same thing happens. You have the cross pollination of ideas. And I will tell you, you are surrounded by some fantastic folks. I've gotten to know so many of you personally in many different ways. And wow, you're just an awesome specimen of humanity. And the things that you're building matter. They need to get out in the world. They need to be the Promethean courtesy, that spark that you give somebody else. We have no idea. It could be your spark that starts a revolution, in a good way, not necessarily a bad way. So, anyway, each and every one of you, you go on to greatness. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day. There are some spaces today. They're not on the calendar, but they're really cool people. If you're involved in AI, the Weights and Measures crew, his name is Alex, ALTRYN. I think at the end is his handle. That's where all the smart AI folks are right now. It's all going to go over your head. I'll just warn you now, but you'll get to know a lot of the new tools that are flooding and, become familiar with them because I guarantee you, Nick, Alisher, and Ross have already figured it out. They usually have an insider track that's about 2 weeks ahead of Alex's program, but and that's already integrated into my AI tutor and Pixio. It just gives you an idea of what other people on the outside are doing with those tools. Because it's interesting when you find out from the people who actually invented them or created them where their mind was. And then you think to yourself, well, wow, I'm not even using it the way you intended. I'm totally hacking this, I'm breaking it, and I'm modding it. And when you have those kinds of conversations, it moves the whole entire industry forward. And it's a really fantastic opportunity. So if you have the time, or just catch the recording, Cash Money Kev also said the last little bit to this, make sure you're in the innovators think tank, right? Go to the .com, make sure you're integrated with the community. There are a lot of pieces of content that are only community oriented, which means like if you're not a part of the community, you can't comment like in the purple bubble. We had a heck of a time last night. Little things like that. It might seem silly, but you do want to, if you're spending the time and energy to build your business, make sure you're making those connections. Make sure you're integrated and plugged in with communities that are going to foster your success and cheer you on and, lead you in the right direction. Because I'll tell you, a lot of powerful collaborations have happened in the course of 70 something episodes. I mean, we've got Sharon and Kirk publishing, a magazine, Real World magazine, that all started here. It all started with a silly idea in the middle of the night, and it's grown into something really, really cool. And these are people that never met each other in real life, but they are building those kinds of relationships. Starboss and I are doing the same thing. I got to see her this weekend. We're sending stuff to the lunar surface. And all of the stuff that we're learning in this class are designed to help other people that are in this class and hope that their projects also get the recognition and eyeballs on them that they deserve. So it's an interesting pay it forward, and I'm thrilled that all of you are here. So I apologize for the long-windedness. I needed to tie up everything, make sure I didn't forget anything. I'm an old lady, and we were up late last night. So my bingo posse's coming over and, and delivering more rocks and mulch as we were speaking. My husband has been left unattended with a credit card, adult money, and the ability to order landscaping supplies. So we have 2 tons of rocks and, a whole mound of dirt in my driveway that I can't do anything with until I move it so then I can get the car out because he was brilliant that way. Surround yourself with doers, folks. Your life will always be exciting. Guarantee it. So, Alisher, did you have any final thoughts? Cash Money Kev, I love you to the moon and back.
I would just say, guys, remember, we have a class next week. We're getting started on something new. If you don't have a C panel, you can sign up and get a C panel next week. And if you do have a C panel and you're in Mighty Networks, remember, you're going to keep that pretty much forever until you want to cancel it. And we'll see you guys next week. Check out mine and Sharon's space tomorrow. Check out ITT on Saturday. And yeah, we're here all week. And don't forget to check out Sarah's space as well. Humans Make Cool Things. I was going back and testing the space downloaders. I was downloading a lot of the recordings and just getting reminded how many spaces we do a week. Yeah, and we'll see you guys in one of these spaces. Good luck. Keep working on your Canva clones. And whenever you do release them and you are ready, don't forget to drop a link so we can all go check it out. We can all sign up and get a subscription. We'll see you guys soon.
I love it, Alisher. Love it. Good job, guys. I'm honestly speechless. You guys are the best. the goose wingman, as I've said before. I think you guys literally have just covered everything. I'm honestly speechless. Season 4 is already done. On a season 5 in a week. Let's go. I'm super hyped. Guys, don't forget to check out the innovator directory on the innovators think tank, especially. These are my last few closing notes. I know we're going a little bit over time, but that's all good. The innovator directory is how you can find and connect with people. Super useful. You'll see me, Josh, Mattia, and Sarah, everybody on there. Make sure you just it's pretty much following people on the innovators think tank and make those connections. It's going to matter, especially make those connections with people that you want to. That will help you push your projects forward. Also, don't forget to set up your LLCs if you are putting your Canva clones into production, and set up your taxes. I don't think anybody said that. I just want to put that out there. Get your taxes set up with Stripe. Super important. And yeah, I think that's about it, guys. Well done. Cheers to season 4. And with that, I'll see you guys on Saturday. And I'll also be in Alistair's space tomorrow. And I'm definitely going to Sarah's as well. So I'll see you in there. And with that, guys, go on throughout your Thursday today.